Become aware of your thoughts. That's the first step, whether you're in love or you're in fear. Your thoughts will tell you if you're in a loving part of your personality and you're feeling blissful, physical sensations, the kind that you want more of, the kind you'd like to live your life with. Look at your thoughts and you'll see what that part of your personality is thinking. And it will always be thinking thoughts of gratitude or appreciation or caring. And when you're in a frightened part of your personality, the thoughts that you're thinking will always be critical, judgmental, comparative. Every thought is showing you whether a frightened part of your personality is active or a loving part is active. Where your attention goes, you go. Isn't that amazing? It's good to be with you again. In the last 2 episodes, or 3 episodes actually, we've talked about the Authentic Power Guidelines. This is a marvelous tool. It was created by Linda Francis, my spiritual partner. It is a synoptic, very brief and precise and accurate guide to creating authentic power and what's involved in it. And it's got 4 sections. The first is commitment. That's what you need to do anything that you're really going to do. Otherwise, you spend your life thinking about what you want to do. It's only when you commit to it that things happen. And things happen on several, you might say, levels of reality. In the Earth School, it actually happens. You commit to building a house and you build it. You commit to finding a new job and you find it. At the same time, when you commit to something and actually do it, you create consequences for yourself beyond what I've just mentioned. In the East, this is called karma. But the karma that you create is not simply the karma that comes into being because you did it. It's also the karma that's created by the energy that you did it with. So the third commitment guideline, the first is focus what I can learn about myself all the time, especially from my reactions, when I'm jealous, when I'm angry. We talked about that. The second is pay attention to my emotions, to feeling the physical sensations in my energy processing centers, such as my chest and solar plexus and throat area, and physical sensations like throbbing, aching, stinging, stabbing, burning. Pay attention to my thoughts. That's the third Authentic Power Guideline. Thoughts such as judging or analyzing or planning your reply when somebody is speaking, or thoughts of gratitude or appreciation or caring or patience. Well, this is an easy one, you might say, because you're always thinking thoughts. And everyone knows that. In Buddhist literature, they call it a monkey mind, always chattering, always talking, always babbling, always thinking about something, and it's continual. Well, this is more than paying attention to that, although most people don't even pay attention to that. The monkey mind continues whether you're aware of it or not. Usually you're not aware of it. If you're really not aware of it, you're just acting in the world, acting out those thoughts, those emotions that create those thoughts. Now we are multisensory. We have a new human consciousness, and all of that changes. Not the chattering mind, the thoughts that are always there, but your ignorance of it or your oblivion to it. Instead, now you become, or can become, aware of what those thoughts are. And more than that, aware of where they come from. So let's go into that. We've already talked about it a little bit. And it's easy to do. Just become aware of your thoughts. That's the first step. Don't be someone whose mind is constantly chattering and you're not aware of it. It's not a monkey mind. It's a mind that accurately reflects whether you're in love or you're in fear. Your thoughts will tell you. Your emotions will tell you. And paying attention to everything that's happening inside of you is part of that. This is what we've discussed so far and what we're discussing now. When you add to simply being aware of your thoughts, what you have learned from paying attention to your emotions, the last of the guidelines we discussed, you know because of your emotions whether you're in love or in fear, whether a frightened part of your personality is active, such as anger, jealousy, resentment, competitiveness, superiority, inferiority, anger, all of these things. You know when you're in a frightened part of your personality, when you're paying attention to your emotions, because when you are and you're in a frightened part of your personality, you will experience painful physical sensations in those areas, which in the East are called chakras. And we're calling them, accurately in English, your energy processing centers. And when love is active in you, the physical sensations that you're feeling in the same energy processing centers, instead of feeling painful, they feel wonderful. They feel good. How do you feel when you're experiencing gratitude? Well, that's a loving part of your personality. How do you feel when you're content with your life? It's okay. You really like it. That's a loving part of your personality. How do you feel when you're in awe of the universe? When you're looking at the sky at night and it's filled with stars and you can see the Milky Way. And beyond that, you can see stars in any direction. And you know intellectually that our Milky Way is one galaxy out of countless galaxies in the universe. What do you feel then? That's a loving part of your personality. That's wonder at the world. And we'll come back to that later at other times. So when you're aware of your emotions, you know when you're in a frightened part of your personality or a frightened part of your personality is active, and you know when you're in a loving part of your personality, which means a loving part of your personality is active. So then you're almost there. When you're aware of those things, simply notice what they're thinking. If you're in a loving part of your personality and you're feeling blissful, physical sensations, the kind that you want more of, the kind you'd like to live your life with, look at your thoughts in that moment, and you'll see what that part of your personality is thinking. And it will always be thinking thoughts of gratitude or appreciation or caring or contentment or patience or awe of the universe. And when you're in a frightened part of your personality, the thoughts that you're thinking will always be critical, judgmental, comparative, and you will always be on the one end of the comparison or the other. They will be saying to themselves, I'm so smart, I don't need to listen to any of the things I'm being told now. Or the other end of it, I'm never going to get this, I'm just not quick enough like some people are. And they'll be comparing other people. For example, they'll be saying, he's so stupid. Or, I'm so stupid. So you know when you have thoughts like that you're in a frightened part of your personality. It's active. Now comes the interesting thing. You can become aware of your thoughts in exactly this way. Now they're not just chatter. Now they're not just activity in your mind that keeps going whether you're aware of it or not. Every thought, like every emotion, is showing you whether a fearful part, a frightened part of your personality is active or a loving part is active. Isn't that amazing? Your every experience in the Earth School is showing you whether you are encountering and experiencing a loving or a frightened part of your personality. And this is very important to know, because when you act on one loving part or several, or you act on a frightened part or several, you're creating entirely different consequences for yourself. When you're acting on a frightened part, you're creating painful, destructive, unhealthy, contracted experiences for yourself. And when you're acting from a loving part of your personality, you're creating the opposite. Blissful, open, accepting, expanding, joyful, creative, compassionate experiences. And this allows you to make a choice. Now we're going to come to choice again and again. Because choice is what you are. Now, I'm not saying that choice is what you have, or choice is an ability that you can exercise. I am saying to you that you are choice. You can put it this way. As you get to know who you are with your new consciousness, which is not limited any longer to the old consciousness, which is limited to the perceptions of the five senses, you begin to see that there is a part of your personality that is immortal. It's more than your personality. You can tell if you're multisensory simply by how you resonate to the thought that you are more than a body and a mind. When you're multisensory, no one has to tell you that. Although if they do tell you that, you resonate with it. You don't dismiss it because something in you knows that already. You are more than a body, more than a mind. Your emotions show you messages from your soul. They tell you when you're experiencing love and you're experiencing fear. And the thoughts do the same thing. All you need to do to know what the thoughts of a frightened or a loving part of your personality, whatever it is that you're experiencing, is to first identify it with your emotional awareness and then simply look at what it's thinking. And you'll see it's just what I've described. It's either comparative and judgmental, or it's grateful and appreciative and lovely thoughts of awe and gratitude. Now, we're dwelling on thoughts now because thoughts also trigger, as well as are triggered by, frightened and loving parts of your personality. When you're experiencing a loving part of your personality, for example, you're grateful for the parents you have, or in many cases, you're anything but grateful for the parents you have. You resent them and you're sorry you have them. But when you're experiencing love, you're experiencing an energy that is entirely different from the energy of fear. Five sensory individuals experience this, but they don't know what they're experiencing. They just know that they like emotions that feel good to them, and they don't like emotions that feel bad to them. And if they're experiencing emotions that feel bad to them, they do something to try to change the world because they assume that the world is creating the emotions that they're feeling. And if they're painful emotions, the solution must be to change the world because that's what's causing the painful emotions. That's exactly what five sensory humans do and have always done. That's called the pursuit of external power, striving to change the world. In simple terms, it's the ability to manipulate and control not only the world, but everything in it, including other people. But multisensory humans don't do that because they know that the world is not the cause of their painful emotions and their painful experiences, physical sensations. And so when they experience a painful physical sensation, they don't look outward to the world the way five sensory humans do. They look inward at their internal dynamics, and they will find them. And it's these internal dynamics that create their painful and their blissful experiences. They're grateful and their judgmental thoughts. And these dynamics are what we have been identifying, talking about as loving and frightened parts of the personality. Multisensory humans look inward to change those internal dynamics. And that is the creation of authentic power. Now you're cooking with gas, or you have the capability to. Think of a time when you were in a loving part of your personality. You were fascinated with the world, with the galaxies above you, with a mountain at sunset, with the ocean, unfathomable, stretching to the horizon, and you know that isn't nearly as far as it goes a lot farther, and you feel awe. Or think of someone that you're grateful for, not because of what they're doing for you or what you can get from that person, but because you're grateful that they are in your life, period. Now, while you're feeling that, you can think about, for example, how you're going to pay the rent, what it is in the world that you can't control that's important to you. In other words, what you're attached to. And you will find that your emotions follow that. There's an old saying in English, smile, and the world smiles with you. Don't look at it in terms of behavior. People who are trying to sell you something are usually smiling about it. That's not the kind of smile I'm talking about. I'm talking about the kind of smile that comes from your heart, that comes from deep in you. It's a smile that expresses joy and gratitude and awe and appreciation. And when you do that, you see the world differently than you do when you're seeing it critically and judgmentally. And that's because how you experience the world or anything in it depends upon how you hold it. The world itself simply presents circumstances to you. When you see it through fear, you don't see those circumstances the way they actually are. When you see through the lens of fear, you are looking at an illusion. The entire realm of fear is an illusion. It's not real. That's why following fear doesn't lead you any place you want to go. Maybe you want to be a billionaire by the time you're 35. It can lead you there. But when you're there, you're going to be in for a surprise. The emptiness is still with you. That's how powerful thoughts are. Now you can be aware of this and at the same time be aware of how powerful your emotions are, and yet discover that you can't simply change them because you will it. Well, you can in a way, and I'm going to tell you how. When you are in a frightened part of your personality and you're feeling painful physical sensations in your energy processing center, such as your throat and chest and solar plexus, and when you look at the thoughts, you will notice that those thoughts are judgmental and critical. And you know that you're experiencing a frightened part of your personality. A 5-sensory person just thinks, oh, this is the way I am. This is the way I am right now. A multi-sensory personality knows this is a frightened or a loving part of my personality that I'm experiencing. And I can choose not to believe it. I can choose to put my intention in another part of my personality, such as a loving part of my personality. So while you're experiencing judgmental thoughts and painful physical sensations in your energy processing centers, you can use your volition, your free will, to move your attention to a loving part of your personality. That means remembering a time and going back to a time when you were loved or loving or both, and you knew it. And when you go back to that time, you put yourself in that energy. And then you can choose to act or speak from that energy instead of the energy of fear while you are still experiencing the frightened part of your personality. That is the moment of creating authentic power. You're feeling the frightened part of your personality in terms of physical sensations in your energy processing centers. You are recognizing its thoughts, judgmental, critical, comparative, no appreciation, nothing is appealing, everything hurts, everything is negative and bleak. But you are choosing while you're experiencing that, and it's magnetic attraction. Frightened parts of your personality are very attractive. They are right and righteous. And when you act on them, you feel right and righteous. While all of that is happening, you use your free will to put your attention into a loving part of your personality. You go there. And that's significant because where your attention goes, you go. And from there, you choose to act or speak while you're experiencing the frightened part and all of its painful physical sensations and all of its judgmental, critical thoughts. That's creating authentic power. That's where the rubber meets the road. That's where you create consequences in your life, not by thinking about them, but by acting. When you choose love, that's a common phrase, isn't it? Choose love. It doesn't mean in your mind, I'm going to do that. Yeah, I'm going to do that. It means when you act. Your choice is the action. The action is the choice. And you will make a choice. This brings us back to where we started. You're not a chooser. You are choice. And every circumstance in the earth school brings you to another choice point. Everyone. And the choice that you have is always the same. The choice between love and fear. The choice between constructive, blissful, healthy, energizing, invigorating experiences and painful, constricted, closed down, encapsulated, isolated experiences. All of this distance we've come in understanding is simply by looking at the first 3 commitment guidelines. Focus on what I can learn about myself, especially when I'm upset. Pay attention to my emotions. Pay attention to my thoughts. There's one more commitment guideline, and I'm going to talk about that in the next podcast. For now, here's a soul step for you. Take out your notebook, your soul notebook, and your little soul fountain pen or pencil, and write in it the thoughts that you are thinking. Whenever you remember to remember your thoughts, write them down. You're probably going to find that most of them are judgmental, critical thoughts. And as you see this, you'll see how often that you are thinking or seeing the thoughts of a frightened part of your personality. That is because when you first become aware in your life, you become aware of what's in it. And for almost all people, that's fear. And as you become aware of all the experiences and the dynamics within yourself, you put yourself in a position to change that consciously, with awareness, and with, this is the last commitment guideline, with intention. So write down in your notebook what thoughts you're thinking every time you remember to write them down. I don't like her. She didn't call me back. God, who took this parking place? That was supposed to be mine. It's got my name on it. Look, that fellow just made an obscene gesture, driving past me at 90 miles an hour. What kind of world is this? All of those thoughts, all of those, whatever it is you're thinking. And your creative, the frightened parts of your personality are very creative. You'll be surprised at how often new thoughts of judgment and criticism appear, and often how regularly familiar thoughts of judgment and criticism appear. And we'll look at those, and we'll look at what you can do with all of that in the next podcast. I'm looking forward to being with you again. I always do. I'm Gary Zukav.